this, friends, is where our trawler life started.
We're a couple hours north of San Diego. We're at the Los Alamitos Bay Marina. And this right here is where 3 years ago we first laid eyes on what would become Sea Y'all.
We happened to be in the neighborhood that weekend and we decided to look at a few boats.
But these days, just heading out for the weekend and deciding to look at a few boats might be easier said than done. Today, we're going to meet and interview the trawler expert and specialist, none other than Jeff Merrill, so that we can find the answer to this question.
How on earth do you find your dream boat in this market?
Hey y'all, welcome to the Sea Y'all Life. I'm Andrea, this is Tom, and we have 2 pups. We're a couple of Texas transplants living the empty nest life to the fullest. For us, that's living part-time on our 44-foot DeFever trawler in San Diego. Our hope is that as you join us on our dreams and adventures, we'll inspire you to discover your own. So, Sea Y'all crew, we are so excited today to be in the company of world-renowned trawler expert and broker, Jeff Merrill. And Jeff, thank you so much for joining us today to answer the questions people are asking right now.
Well, no, great to have you guys. Welcome to my office in Seal Beach, and fun to get to know you guys. I love this, the people who are out doing trawlers and the trawler lifestyle, so anything I can do to help you guys, I'm happy to do. So thanks for inviting me to come for some questions.
Yeah, well, there's 3 people I've always wanted to meet. Tom Brady, Jack Johnson, the singer, and Jeff Merrill. So I've met Jack Johnson and now Jeff Merrill, so I just need to meet Tom Brady.
Tom Brady, wow,
my bucket list is complete.
Pretty elite company. Yeah, did you see Jack at a show?
Yeah, we did. And
we met him in an elevator.
Yeah, and he couldn't have been nicer. Yeah, so.
I did some sailing with Jimmy Buffett one time in a different world, so.
All
these people are just normal, great people when you get them away, but obviously you have to have the persona for the songs and stuff, but it's, anyway.
We need a 5-hour interview so we can hear all the stories.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Maybe this is
I think we might have fun with it. I don't know if everybody else would enjoy it.
So Jeff, I started following you at least 5 years ago, and the reason that you're so intriguing is because I love trawlers, and you do Trawler Fest and Passage Maker magazine, and then you have your JMYS YouTube, and it's like, tell us how you all got started with that.
Wow, that's a long answer, but I'll try to give you the shorter version. I grew up here in Seal Beach, Long Beach, Alamitos Bay, racing Sabbats, which is these small little 8-foot boats with a lee board on the side. And one thing led to another. I got involved in very competitive sailing. I sailed in the America's Cup boats from 1984 to 1987. Came back, got involved in a barbecue business, the Magma Barbecues, which I think you guys have a Magma Barbecue. I was involved with them.
Wow.
Then I went to work with Pacific Seacraft, a cruising boat builder, and the guys at Nordhaven came to Pacific Seacraft and said, will you build our Nordhaven 40 for us? So I remember seeing the Nordhaven 40 the first time I saw the drawing, and I thought, not very attractive. I don't get it.
Wow.
Anyway, so then I called Jim Leishman one time and said, hey, I'd like to come down and see more about these Nordhavens that actually go to the same places that these cruising sailboats do. He invited me down and I was blown away by them. Fast forward 1999, I decided to grow up and get a real job, and I was going to come work with my brother as a mortgage banker. Jim called me up and said, hey, we have this Nordhaven 35 project. Would you consider coming to work with us? One thing led to another, and I had the next 14 years at Nordhaven. So that's a quick version of how I got into it, but I am a sailor. I didn't know anything about powerboats, except that the whalers were rescuing me when I tipped over in my Sabbat, and the race committee boats were usually powerboats to start and finish the races. So, but I've been very fortunate to live my whole life around the water. And I met Pam, my wife, sailing on a wet Wednesday. So yeah, it's all connected.
Wow.
Great
water.
stories.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So after your experience on the water, just lifelong, and then working as a project manager with Nordhaven,
Right.
how did you end up in the boat brokerage business?
Well, at Nordhaven, I started off as the project manager for the Nordhaven 35, which was outfitting the boat, getting it all ready, working on the marketing, and then helping with the sales. I actually was doing the contracts, doing the whole thing on that model. The project kind of lost steam, and Nordhaven got interested in other things, and the guy said, hey, we want you to sell the full line of boats. So I got my broker's license, and actually in California you get a sales license first, and then you can get a broker's license if you want, but everybody's called a yacht broker. I got my sales license, and I really found that used boats was fun, but I really love selling new boats. You sit down with people, you figure out how they want to use the boat, what kind of equipment they need, and then you put together this amazing boat. When 2008 came along and everything started falling, I realized that the new boats thing was maybe it's great, but there's not as many people who want to do that, and I got more involved in brokerage. So brokerage is great because you sell a boat in a 30-day window typically, and you get paid. New boat, you get paid on progress payments. It can be 2 years from when you first sign a contract till it's completed. So I got very involved in the brokerage. I loved it and traveled all over. One thing that my address is great. California is a wonderful place to live. Climate is great, but it's not the best trawler market. San Diego, awesome. You guys have your boat in San Diego,
yes.
Great place. But as far as cruising and places to go, nothing compares with the Pacific Northwest or the Chesapeake or the Bahamas, Caribbean. There's so many other places. So I'm usually traveling. I have to live somewhere.
Yes.
Pam and I are very settled here in the Garden Grove, Orange County, Seal Beach, Long Beach area, but I do a lot of traveling. But the broker's always been fun. It's just that I've always had to travel to go meet with the people and see the boats. Trawler fests are all over the country.
Sure.
It's a traveling business, and you're traveling on the boat, so it kind of ties together.
Yeah. Jeff, most boat brokers are local in their locale and or backyard, and you buy and sell trawlers for people all over the world. How do you do that?
Well, it's a big secret. No, again, the traveling is part of this business as far as I'm concerned. And when I was working with Nordhaven, I was in Dana Point, and prior to the internet, and when I started at Nordhaven, I had an AOL account, and then we went to @nordhaven.com. The whole internet thing really started coming on. Nordhaven had a fantastic website to get started. And when you start going with the internet, you get a worldwide audience. Nordhaven was already a very well-known brand worldwide. I found that looking ahead, that the internet was going to be more and more of a big thing. And so I was really focused on writing articles for the website at Nordhaven. I would travel to all the boat shows, meet with all the people. Again, this is just not that great of a market in Southern California. So by traveling around and meeting people, I started selling boats in various places. People call me and say, I'm done with my boat, I want to list it. So it's a different model. I think the traditional yacht broker role is to have a nice office in the marina, manage a few slips, and have a good sign out there, and hopefully people call or walk in. Now, I don't think the walk-in world exists anymore. It's kind of the brick and mortar versus Amazon. I'm not saying that it's good, but I realized that a low overhead and traveling where the boats are was probably going to be more productive. So it's been a long time building this type of thing, but I realized really that the internet was the way it should go, and that I should be not necessarily a virtual yacht broker because I have to be somewhere,
right,
but I could be anywhere, and I'm doing it all with my phone and my laptop and meeting with people on their boats.
Yeah.
So
That sounds like a lot more fun than being in an office at a marina for 20 years.
well, being in an office at a marina is pretty great. You've got a fantastic view.
True.
My view is the plain sea in front of me a lot of times and looking down at the ground before, or waking up in a hotel room and not remembering which hotel I'm in. I've actually had that happen. To wake up and go, I have no idea where I am. And then it starts coming back to me. But the traveling is fun. And then think about this. My job is to help people find the right boat. I don't really call it selling. It's really more connecting. So you help find the people right boat. It's nice people, good people, cool boats, great places. Nothing wrong with the job. It's a pretty good deal.
Do you think you have the dream job?
I don't know. For me, I do.
Yeah.
But if you had asked me when I was 10 years old, or you looked into the future and said, you little sailor boy are going to be a yacht broker selling powerboats, I would have said, no, not that. But yeah, it worked out. There's no plan here. And one of the things, racing sailboats, you have to make instant decisions, and they have lasting effects. So you learn the boat, you learn the water, you learn your competition, and you have to make instant decisions that have these lasting effects. I am a seat of the pants kind of guy. I didn't write up a business plan to start my brokerage. I just knew what to do, and then the next step, and I kind of know when to tack, when to jibe, when to pull the sails down. It's just intuition and experience that's kind of led me on this path. There's no logic to it.
And you're a nice guy. That's why people want to do business with you,
Well,
Jeff.
thank you. Yeah, thanks.
For sure.
So you've been selling boats for years.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen a market quite like the one we're in right now?
No. This is unprecedented, although it does seem to be sticking a lot longer than we thought. I've been through a couple of cycles, the luxury tax, and then of course the 2008 world collapse. It's always been a buyer's market. There's always been a lot of boats to select from. There's always been a choice, and the buyer can kind of call the shots. A seller lists their boat, and pre-pandemic, and I'm not saying that we're out of the pandemic, but let's just say 2019, you would list a boat for sale, and you would say it's going to be 6 months to a year probably to find a buyer. Sometimes you sell them right away. Sometimes you renew after a year and you continue marketing. It was a buyer's market. It always has been. I was actually in Japan on March 17th of 2020 doing a Nordhaven 60 deal with a Canadian client. And Pam and I would talk every day. I travel a lot. And she's a very, Pam, the best, very understanding wife. Lets me travel and do all this stuff. And she tried calling me a couple times in the morning, and I woke up and I called her and said, "What's going on?" She goes, "You got to come home today. I know that this thing's getting real, this whole COVID thing, but I'll be home on Friday. I've got day 2 of the survey today." She goes, "No, they're talking about shutting down San Francisco airport." And that was when COVID got real for me. So I said, "If you can get me on a flight, I'll do it." I flew home, finally took off my mask and got in the car with her. I said, "What is going on?" And we hunkered down for about 90 days. And I thought, I had a really good first quarter of 2020. I thought, I'm going to have to make this quarter last for the rest of this year.
Sure.
And then I started talking to some of my friends doing smaller boats, and they said, "We can't sell boats fast enough." I said, "Oh man, we're dead. I mean, our market, the trawler market, is just nothing." And by June, people started surfacing. And by July of 2020, I had the best month I've ever had. And this isn't a year when 2 months before, I thought I was done for the year. So no, I've never seen it. It doesn't make any sense. People are living now, which is great, instead of waiting. Typically, people have this great plan to think about when we retire, and you have your health and your time and your money. Now it's time to do it. But that's not now ever. It's always down the road. And they think, why should I wait 5 more years if I can do it now? So there was this massive frenzy to gobble up boats. And then there became more people who said, "Hey, I'm going to get a boat. This is a great way to be independent, to go out and have some fun with my family safely, cruising, isolated, all the good things about it." Boats, RVs, planes, things like that all became very popular. More and more people each day, each week are contacting us because they want to do this. And they're a little bit late to figuring it out. And there's people 3 weeks from now that haven't even thought about it yet. But the point is the demand continues to increase and the inventory continues to shrink. So it's still a seller's market. We normally see in the fall season, after the summer's over, people have kind of done their last summer cruising. They're going to sell the boat, get a bigger boat, get a smaller boat, get an RV, do something different. So in the fall, the September, October, we see more boats come on, and there's been a little trickle of that, but nowhere like before. I don't know. I think it's going to stick like this through the end of this year, my personal opinion. I think in next year the tide swings and we come back, but it's just a guess. There's no way of knowing.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It is crazy.
So Jeff, you talked about high demand and low inventory. So what is your advice to boat buyers right now?
You have to be patient. The right boat is out there. This is maybe not the right time. There's the price, the location, the equipment. There's so many factors on a boat purchase to consider. Most people want to have a boat. They have the money. They want to do it right now, and they're frustrated because they can't find one. But there will be a shift. It will come back. There will be options. If you are the type of person who only buys green bananas because you're not sure, then maybe you need to buy a boat now, and you're willing to pay a premium for that. But boats, and this is the big secret, we don't want everybody to know, boats are depreciating assets. You do not make money on boats.
Right.
So you have to be smart on a, as I tell people, a financially irresponsible decision to buy a boat. It's wonderful. I mean, it makes my life helping people do this, but we do have that conversation. If you can start narrowing down, and then really it's a process of elimination. You see boats online, you study them, you contact a broker, you get on them, you talk to your friends. It's a big process to go about it, but what you see online isn't always what you see in person, and you have to kind of eliminate boats that no longer meet your requirements and funnel it down. While you're doing that, you have to be ready for it when you're actually going to be pulling the trigger and writing a contract. When you put a boat under contract, it's about a 30-day window from when you sign the contract until you own it. That seems like a lot of time. It's not. You run out of time quickly. So all of a sudden it's, okay, how are you going to pay? Oh yeah, we got to pay for it. So you better have your, either whether you're getting a loan or your banking, be ready for that. You can get pre-approval. The big bottleneck right now is insurance. Insurance has become much more difficult. There used to be a lot more underwriters in the market. They've left. The current underwriters are more stringent in their requirements. And so I tell people to start working on your insurance coverage now before you're ready to buy a boat. So in this waiting time, if the right boat's not there, think about where you want to cruise, what kind of boat you want, get your financing ready, get your insurance ready, work on your skills. The insurance people want to know that you can change a rake cord, change a belt, know how to navigate, know how to anchor, all those different skills. Take online courses, go to Trawler Fest, do Boaters University. There's a lot of different resources out there to start building up. And the more you learn about it, the more you're going to want that boat and want to do it. But it's going to at least make you better prepared for it.
Wow, so a true honest broker here. Somebody's saying, well, maybe wait. Most realtors or brokers aren't saying maybe wait, but that was kind of your advice if you're not ready, right?
Well, the right boat, you'll know it.
Yes.
You guys,
Oh,
when
yeah,
you saw
we
your
do.
boat, we talked about this before. You saw it. You can't really buy the first boat that you see. It's probably not the right boat.
Right.
And then I think in this market, if you wait too long, you lose. I don't like that
Sure,
part
yeah.
either. You know, so one of my quotes is, you don't want to be in a rush to buy a slow boat. I think that's very true. But in this market, he who hesitates, you can miss out. So you need to be ready, and you need to know which kind of boat you want. But the timing is very difficult to match up.
Yeah, good.
I love your advice about all the things people can do to prepare to own their boat while they're waiting for their dream boat to
Yeah,
appear.
yeah.
You're right, there's so many things to learn. We didn't know a thing when we bought our first boat, which was not the DeFever.
Right.
We didn't know a thing, and we just had to learn it all at once. But I think if we had spent some time getting our sea legs, so to speak, with some knowledge, it would have even made the transition
Well,
easier.
you can do chartering. There's different things to do. There's not that many trawlers you can charter, but just getting on the water. I mean, from simple things like how does shore power work to tying up the lines, how do you hang fenders. One thing that you might be good at right now is washing and cleaning and scrubbing and disinfecting, because there's a lot of that on boats too. But it's the things that, if you buy a house, you don't think about it. You've lived in a house. You already know what a house is like. But a boat is it's much more complicated than a house. In many ways, it's moving. You have a lot of home appliances on there that are not designed for a marine environment. I've talked to a lot of real estate people, and they're kind of the big cousins of the yacht brokers. That is really a serious professional business, and yacht brokerage is really not in the same category, but we're all helping people buy and sell a high dollar commodity.
You know, there were some viewers from the Sea Life who we've gotten to know a little bit, and they're in that process of, okay, we want to retire, and we want to retire in a boat, but we've never done this, and they've asked us a lot of questions. And one of the things I suggested, and they've done, is to Airbnb a couple of boats.
Oh yeah.
So that's going to help them narrow down, like, do we really like this older trawler living, or do we want more modern conveniences? What size feels comfortable for us? And for them, being a few years out from actually buying the boat, that was a great first step to get to the point of understanding what they want.
It's very difficult to try before you buy, and it's a very expensive item to find out that you didn't do the right thing. How long was your sea trial when you guys bought the boat?
A day?
No, your survey was a day, but when you actually left the dock, went to the haul, and came back 2 hours, hour and a half?
Yeah, an hour and a half max.
And so the
an
boat
hour.
that you're going to be running up and down the coast on, you spent an hour and a half on to see what it's like.
That's a good point.
That's not a lot of time.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was overwhelmed when I arrived to pick up the boat. I brought a captain with me because we were going from Long Beach down to San Diego.
Right.
I was overwhelmed. I was like, am I ready for this? It's almost like taking the controls of a 747 for the first time.
Yeah,
Right?
There's no way you can be ready for it, and you can get easily spooked on it or intimidated by it. I've seen a lot of people who, they buy the boat and they think, I don't know what all this stuff does, but I'm going to tidy this up. I'm going to redecorate this. We're going to
Yeah.
and they spend all their
So
time
much.
making the boat perfect, but
Right.
they never go anywhere. And those are the people who end up not really liking it, and they sell their boat. So while the boat is fresh to you, and you know that you don't know anything, that's when you go and you make your mistakes and you learn, and you scuff up the boat and forget to put a fender down and bang into the dock. All that stuff,
Rough.
much better to happen early, and then you learn, and then you can start tidying up the boat
Yeah.
and make it right.
Makes sense.
Good advice.
So if I'm buying a boat in today's market, but I don't want to overpay for a boat, what's your advice?
Boy, I don't know that you can't overpay for a boat in this current market, just the way it is. I have a degree in economics, and the only thing that I can really remember is supply and demand, and that's really what it comes down to here. The margin of utility, all that stuff is great, but really, if you find what you like and it's in a price you can afford, you have to decide if it's time to do it or not. And the longer there's not a lot of boats out there. If you wanted a DeFever 44, they built 200 of them, or 200. There's a finite number. It's not a lot, and the one that's in the location where you want, maybe there's 10, and then the ones that are for sale, there's none. But some have a flybridge, some don't, or different layouts. There's all these different choices. So it's very difficult to find a boat that has everything you're looking for. So there's trade-offs, compromises on boats, and if you find one that you think meets most of your requirements, it's in a price you can afford and you want to do it now, then you got to really think about making an offer, because if you think about it too long, the decision will be made for you and you'd be looking at something else.
By the way, Jeff, I want a Nordhagen 55, so if you find one for around 300,000, make sure to
Well, we'll be partners if I find one for 300,000.
So, you know, when we bought our first boat, we bought it literally on a whim. We met some people.
You did impulse purchase?
Oh, for sure.
We had a little Sea-Doo jet boat, and
Yeah.
we took it to the Marriott, and we went over to Joe's Crab Shack. We met this couple and sort of hit it off and start chatting. Next thing you know, we're over looking at their boat, and they said, by the way, it's for sale, and then we bought it.
We were gonna buy an RV, and then I thought like boats, you know, even starter boats were like 200,000 up. So I said, well, what are you selling the boat for? And first of all, the husband said, we are selling the boat?
Yeah.
He goes, okay.
And she says,
That is classic though. I mean, there was no...
she said, so we had just decided to buy an RV. She says, we're selling our boat for $40,000. We didn't have to say a word.
I
We
almost
looked
said,
at
"I'll
each
take
other, and we just knew we're
But
not buying an RV. And it was a 1983 32-foot Bayliner.
Which was in really good shape.
Great shape, yeah.
Yeah.
When we were trying to decide if our first boat was worth the asking price, what it really came down to, we realized when you're talking about a 1983 Bayliner, it's worth the price if it's what you want.
Yes. Yeah.
That's really it.
Well, that's an interesting thought to pursue a little bit, because when you have a boat listed for sale, you have to come up with a price as a seller. Someday you guys will sell your boat. You're going to have to come up with that price. And you can talk to your broker and you can do comps, but you've got to set that price. A buyer comes along and they typically don't pay the full price. There's usually some negotiation. Right now, boats are selling at very close to asking price, but traditionally that's not the case.
Sure.
So I'm buying your boat. We've agreed on a price. We go to survey it. The surveyor comes in. The surveyor decides that it's worth a lot less than what we've agreed to. And then you go send that to finance and insurance, and they say, well, we can only finance or insure for this much money, and we're short. Most surveyors now realize that in this market there is a pandemic spike, a COVID spike, and that if a willing buyer and a willing seller have agreed on a price, who are they to say that the price is not a good value?
Yeah.
So it's difficult, but we can't tell the surveyor how to price it, and they look at different resources to price it. But I really feel that if a knowledgeable buyer and a knowledgeable seller have come to terms, why should a survey torpedo that?
That makes sense. Jeff, 5 years ago, I was watching videos of exotic people in exotic places, sailing all over the world or cruising all over the world, and kind of fell in love with that dream. And what is your advice for dreamers like that watch videos and all of a sudden say, I want to be those people?
Sell it all.
And sell it all. Yeah, I sold my house, I gave it all away, and I bought a boat, and I'm going to cruise the world.
I don't think it's a good idea. I think that if you know what you're doing and you've been boating and you've had other boats and now you're ready to graduate to that level, that's one thing. If you have never done it, have never owned a boat, don't really know what it's like, and you sell everything to buy a depreciating asset, and then you don't like it and you have to sell it for less,
Right.
that's going to be a big double whammy, triple whammy bummer. But I don't want to discourage people from considering that, but you just have to be practical about it. And boats are emotional, they're not practical. So I think you have to really try to test the lifestyle out, and that'd probably be chartering or meeting friends and talking to different people. There's a lot of forums on the internet. So the Fever has a great forum, owners forum, and there's a lot of interaction there, and it's the Fever owners and people who want to get to Fevers, and people strike up relationships there, and maybe they can help move a boat and just kind of slowly get their feet wet into it. But to sell everything and buy a boat without having really any idea what you're getting into would, I think, be really exciting if it worked out.
Yeah.
It'd be
Probably a little careless.
awesome. Yeah.
So stay on your couch and keep watching the videos and then plan.
Get on the water slowly, and before you write that big check and sell it all, make sure it's what you want to do.
Baby steps.
Wow, we learned so much from the master Jeff today.
Thanks for joining us, and join us next week for a little trawler talk with Jeff Merrill. See y'all soon.